Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and normally when you're eating out, you're not thinking about your health. I mean, eating out and being healthy are not two things that normally go together. You've got to have that balance. But I have some guests on the show today who prove that eating out actually can be pretty health conscious. These are the owners and founders of Clean Slate Food Company. We've got Jamen Danielson and Dylan Thompson. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Now, we're on video today, but for the audio version, since we've got two different voices here, I would love for you guys just to give a quick introduction, maybe introduce yourself, and then give me 30 seconds on your cooking background.
Cool. I'm Jamen Danielson, co-owner of Clean Slate Food Co. Started cooking when I was like 18 years old, doing at a pizza joint in Lincoln, and then moved on to a restaurant in Lincoln called Venue, and that's where I got kind of interested in the more finer side of things, fine dining side of things, I suppose, where I met Dylan at. And from there, we worked together there for a few years. And then I moved on and went to Denver for about a year to work on some food trucks. Turns out it's expensive to live in Denver. And
Very.
Missed my friends. And so came back, and Dylan had this idea, and we kind of just ran with it from there.
Yeah, I'm Dylan, Jamen's partner. So a bit about me. I am a Metro culinary grad, graduated from their program in 2015. I worked at Venue, as Jamen states, met him there. I was more front of house. He was back of house. So a lot of conversations over some drinks at Venue. But during my time at Venue, after culinary graduation, I was doing a bit of caterings, kind of word of mouth, in-home dinners, small little catered events, getting the word out. And things kind of started to escalate from there. I was at UNMC catering some of their lunches for their some interviews that they were doing. And we were having a conversation with the staff, and they were saying, these doctors, they know they should eat better. They obviously have the budget means, but they don't have the time. They don't take the time to do so. Could you help them out? Could you put together a meal plan? And so I went home that day, slopped together a menu per se of 12 menu items, shot it back to them in an email, and they said, we love this. And like 18 people wanted in on it. And right around that time, Jamen was coming back from Denver. He popped his head into my apartment, I think unannounced at the time.
Usually.
And I had a bunch of groceries on my counter. He's like, what are you doing? And I explained it to him. He's like, all right, let's do this. I want in. And so that's how Clean Slate kind of got its start.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I had no idea it was that random. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were cooking out at Dylan's apartment for like the first week. It was the middle of winter, and we were kind of like using
I saw that the deck was the fridge space at that point in time.
That is right.
I mean, you make do with what you have, you guys.
Yeah. And then I think we did it maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then we were like, man, this is getting to be too much. And then I was the sous chef at the Nebraska Club in Lincoln at the time, and they were closed on Sundays. So we were like, well, we kind of made a deal with them to use the space on Sundays, and then kind of grew from there almost.
Yeah, we were doing everything in one day. So we were kind of looking at our debit accounts, be like, all right, how much money do you have to spend on groceries? All right, let's go to Hy-Vee, buy up all this stuff, Costco, store it outside at my apartment, and just go to town. Yeah, and I guess we should probably explain a little bit what we're doing.
Well,
right?
That's what I was going to ask next, because I definitely want to get more into the history, but I kind of want to introduce Clean Slate and give people a sense of really the ethos behind the company. So Clean Slate is a food delivery company. You guys also do catering, but what kind of got you on my radar was you actually opened a cafe near downtown Omaha in Millwork Commons early in 2023. But kind of the through line through all these businesses is the idea that, yes, we're going to offer healthy food, but it's still going to be delicious. I guess you kind of got into it there as you were like making food for people who wanted to be healthy, but how did that become kind of the backbone of this company, that healthy food doesn't have to be bland, it doesn't have to be tasteless, it doesn't have to be just, watered down vegetables, but it can be awesome stuff that people might assume might be hundreds of calories more than it is?
Yeah, for sure. Good question. So yeah, like I mentioned, we were doing some caterings up in UNMC, and they had an interest in, quick, convenient food that was also healthful. And obviously, like I mentioned, I have a culinary background. I love food. Food's a great passion and hobby of mine. I think for Jamin as well. And I've always been interested in health, but food always came first, right? Like I casually go to the gym, less so nowadays for sure. But I have always kind of gone to the gym and had a conscious mind about my health and make sure it doesn't decline, I suppose. But food was first. So that's the mentality we take going into making our food. Is it's got to be delicious. It's cuisine centric, we kind of say, but it's healthful. It's not healthy, right? It's just healthful. It's made
I like that. Yes.
It's made with whole ingredients. We use minimally processed stuff. We make pretty much everything from scratch. We want food that is super delicious and kind of makes you feel delicious after you eat it too. So,
yeah. Portion control is a huge thing, right? It's easy to overeat. So you get this thing, you're like, all right, this is how much I'm eating. And also, just like Dylan was saying, it's like, it's stuff we want to eat first. Like everything when we make this menu is like, would we eat this? And if we wouldn't, we're probably not going to put it on a menu. We also get a lot of people that, a big thing about our meal set is it comes as is. So we get a lot of people that say like, oh, I would never think about trying this, or this is something I would never even consider trying, So I think that's something that we're pretty proud of, is that we put new stuff in front of people too.
Mm-hmm. And talking specifically about that weekly meal service, you guys offer 2 menus each week. One is plant-based and one you call omnivorous, so meat eaters, plant eaters alike can enjoy it. And it's got kind of 5 main dishes on there, including a salad and a soup, and then 1 dessert or baked good, something along those lines. How did you determine that like that was going to be the offering that you were going to have each week?
Good question. So the plant-based kind of came from a need. People were asking for vegetarian/vegan options. And we definitely saw a lack of catering to those folk within the market, especially like in Nebraska. It's very cattle and corn centric, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
meat and potatoes,
right.
man.
Yeah, we all love them, but some plants are good for you every once in a while too. So we definitely saw an underserved market, and that definitely rang true, because when we first started, the vast majority of our orders were plant-based. We kind of hit that niche market before people knew about us. Because when you have kind of those special dietary needs, you're on the Google, you're searching for options, and we definitely found to be a good source for them. And then otherwise, yeah, we knew we had to offer something that's a little bit more for everyone. So then we just added the meat proteins alongside. So every meal has the base of the plant-based. So it's kind of balanced out. You've got a good balance of carbs, proteins, fats, kind of all in balance. And then for the omnivorous, we add the meat protein to give a little bit more sustenance, up the calories just a little bit more.
Gotcha. So there's a cliche in food that fat is flavor. And in a lot of cases, that can absolutely be true. But as we've talked about, it doesn't necessarily have to be. And you mentioned, Jamin, portion control is a big one, but what are some other ways that you guys have found like some just some tips, some techniques where you can shave off a little bit of sodium, some calories, some fat, and still have awesome food, but feel good, stamping that healthful, not necessarily healthy, but healthful stamp on it?
Yeah. I mean, when we got into this, I was working at least in kitchens where like you use butter and everything. You use cream
so much
and everything.
butter.
Risotto, you put so much butter in that.
That's the secret to every good restaurant.
Yeah, right.
So
There's butter in everything, right?
Yes.
And like, don't get me wrong.
There's butter in butter. Yeah,
exactly. We love cooking with it, and it's fun. But like, this kind of made us think in a different way. How are we going to make this taste good while at the same time not putting just a bunch of like fat in it, right? So like one thing we do is like we make like garlic oil. We make like 2 or 3 gallons of garlic oil every week, and that's like the base of how we make our soups and everything.
I think a variety of ingredients too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you eat with your eyes first, right? So when you open up that package, like there's a ton of different ingredients, a ton of different like colors and flavors, textures. That's super important for us.
Yeah, top to bottom when we're planning these menus, we think like, what's going in, and as far as like the texture, the flavor, and how's it all going to come together in the end for the person that's going to eat it.
Yeah, like bright acids are big for me. It's like you mentioned, reduction of sodium. You won't miss sodium as much if you have a pop of flavor. Like acids hit the front part of your palate, first, and kind of make you salivate and makes everything taste a little bit brighter. So that's an easy way to kind of reduce sodium. So yeah, we do what we can to make it not just be reliant on heavy fat ingredients.
I don't know. I would love to pull one specific example and get you guys' take on this, because you, on one of your menus back in March, you ran an Italian melt. Now that's something, no part of that, if you're going to a sandwich shop, is your doctor recommending that. I mean, we're talking all kinds of melted cheese, probably pepperoni, salami, and maybe mortadella, a bunch of processed meat. How did you guys take that and make a healthful version of it?
Well, not everything is extremely healthy. We definitely tend to have some items that are a little bit more satisfying, a little bit more comfort, less, like not everything is going to be, doctor proof stamped, but nonetheless, I think we take those, like a sandwich like that, we kind of load it up with veggies as well. And like our spreads, we do, a plant-based like mayo. And so that is usually blended with tofu and a bit of oil, and we use nutritional yeast and roasted garlic and all these things, rather than just like eating 2 ounces of mayo. So stuff like that to kind of, hone it back or reel it back just a little bit on a sandwich that you would normally think is super gluttonous. So we do what we can, but like I said, we still eat good food.
Right.
Sure, so.
Well, I think so much of it, and we already touched on this, but it's the size of the meal. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to get, if you go to Subway and get one of those sandwiches, yeah, it's a foot long. It's going to knock you out for the rest of the day. But like, I'm going to be totally honest. The last time I came in, I got that pork loin sandwich. It was absolutely delicious. When it came out, I was thinking to myself, oh, this looks a little smaller than I was expecting. Mm-hmm. And then I finished it and I was like, I'm full. I'm good. I don't need to eat more. I think we just, especially in the Midwest, we have this idea that we just need to eat so much, but when we actually do just eat the right amount, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm good now.
I think it takes your stomach like 7 to 10 minutes to catch up to your brain to tell it like, hey man, whoa, I'm full,
we're good.
Right? Yeah. That's a big thing too. You wolf down a sandwich, you're like, oh well, now I need fries and everything too. But yeah, definitely like you said, that the portion control has been huge, and we put our macros on there, fat content, protein, all that. And it's really helpful for people. We have people coming to the cafe a lot and just tell us, how much they appreciate us having that. The people in the building too, they're like, oh man, we're really appreciative of that. We can look at this and see what we're eating. So yeah, the transparency is a huge thing with us for sure. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure what you're eating, and we also make sure that what you're eating is up to our standards and delicious.
Yeah, the cool thing about it too is, if you are calorie counting, all the information's on there. If you want to log that, go for it. But I'd say the majority of our customers aren't that way. They just get them. They appreciate that it is a variety. It is portion controlled. They can eat it and not feel guilty about it is kind of the big thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to be very clear. Like, I've spent a good portion of this opening segment talking about kind of the healthy aspects. I don't want anyone to be watching this or listening to this and think like this is a bunch of salads or like weak soup. This is like legit sandwiches, breakfast hash. We've had burritos. I had a carnitas rice bowl from you guys. I mean, this is real good food. So please don't misunderstand me. I just find it amazing that you guys take these dishes that are usually very sinful and kind of cheat meals and make them fit into people's normal lifestyles. So it's not like, oh shoot, I just went to Chipotle and now I got to, take a nap for 3 hours before my body kicks back in. Right. So we talked a little bit about the meal kit delivery service. You got those 6 different menu items that are going to be on each menu each week. How do you come up with those? Because they change every week.
Yeah, they change every week. We have, we've been doing this for 5 years. So, when we talked about the genesis of Clean Slate, that was 5 years ago, 2018. So we, it was difficult, especially doing all the plant-based options. We really had to think outside of the box and do a lot of R&D. But nowadays we have well over 100, if not closer to 200 recipes that we kind of cycle through on a seasonal basis. So we have a log. We look back on that and we're like, all right, what haven't we done in a while? What could we kind of tweak and change the theme of? But we have a pretty good solid template of menus that we can kind of recycle, reuse. But in the customer's eyes, they're definitely, hopefully not getting sick of them, right? Because you see something different every single week, and you probably won't see the same thing for 3 months if you're getting meals delivered to your home. So
we've also been lucky enough, as we're growing, being able to hire other talented chefs. And our current executive chef, Amanda Sheeler, who you've had on the podcast before.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. She's put a whole new fresh spin on like our recipes that we've been doing, so to have her fresh touch on things and like her like just expertise in cuisine has been like, I think it's elevated our stuff even more than it was before. So
yeah, this year in particular, since we brought her on, things have been really great. So if there's any old Clean Slate customers out there that haven't ordered in a while, like check out what we're doing now for sure.
Yes, I would second that. So I'm really interested in the plant-based menu. And Dylan, you touched on this a little bit, and your answer or what you said before was kind of surprising. So I want to dig into it a little bit more. My kind of assumption was you guys started with the omnivorous menu and then kind of reverse engineered it. And we're like, okay, we can take lentils and, replace meat with that, or sweet potatoes or things along those lines. The way that you answered before, it sounds like you kind of start with the plant-based and then find ways to incorporate proteins onto the omnivorous menu. Is that more what you guys' process is like?
Definitely. That's the goal, because it's a lot easier to start with, a wholesome meal that's full of plants and plant-based, and then to add the meat than the other way around, right? Like the Italian meal, that's a pretty hard one to kind of reverse engineer. Yeah. Although we managed to do it. I don't even know what we did. Sweet potatoes, maybe.
I think we did roasted eggplant.
Roasted
there you go.
Yeah, which we have a roasted eggplant sandwich on our cafe menu. But yeah, so we just start with whole ingredients, super clean, lots of variety, like we kind of talked about, and then we add the meat option. Because of that, we don't use a ton of dairy. I think like there's not dairy in the omnivorous meals every single week, and there's usually maybe only one meal that has dairy. So that's something too. A lot of people nowadays have a dairy sensitivity. I mean, it does a number on your stomach for a lot of people. So that is another nice thing that we can just omit. We cater to a lot of allergies as well if people have dietary restrictions. So we kind of have that mindset going into making the meals. How can we make these as friendly as possible for everyone? And that includes vegetarians and vegans as well. So we kind of start with that blank slate, add a bunch of veggies, add some wholeness, kind of fill out our macros, and then add the protein or whatever have you.
I am not a vegan at all. I am a card-carrying carnivore. And one of the first things I had when I came in was the buffalo cauliflower wrap. And it's so simple. Like, you guys are probably laughing at me because you're like, that's like 6 ingredients. That's such a simple thing. It was delicious. I came back and got it again because it was really good. I did not miss the meat. It had a nice little heat to it. It was awesome. So even if you are someone who loves meat, you can come in and have a great meal, or you can order the plant-based menu and have a great time.
Yeah, Dan, you don't really have to worry about your physique, I wouldn't say, but as kind of studies are coming out and as people are kind of, self-educating themselves about nutrition, we're realizing that eating 12 ounces of meat every single meal and a boatload of dairy isn't the best thing for you. It's definitely okay in moderation if that's what you so choose, but making sure you get a variety of plants in your week is pretty important. And so that's kind of a low bar that we aim for.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk about you guys' favorite dishes, and not your absolute favorites, because I know, at least according to the last update on Instagram, we got soba noodles and chicken shawarma wrap is what you guys said were your favorites. But I want to tease some taste buds. If somebody's listening or watching this right now and they're like, okay, all this sounds good, but I want some examples of meals, like, you guys go list a couple of your favorite dishes that are going to take some people who are listening right now and turn them into, okay, now I'm getting on Clean Slate website and figuring out when and what I'm ordering.
Well, in my humble and professional opinion, the Cubano is the best sandwich, hands down. Braised pork, ham.
I love a Cuban.
Yeah, Swiss cheese,
that's
pickles,
coming up
mustard.
This week.
Yeah,
well,
so
that'll be in the past for this show. Look forward to it.
The Cubano, I don't think there's a better sandwich. Honestly, any of our pasta dishes. I mean, I love carbs. Like, I love eating pasta all day, I could, And then any of our, like you said, the soba noodle is really good, but this week we're doing, which won't be this week in the future, but
but it's okay. What you like you
Yeah.
guys said, these dishes will come up again. So
Right.
maybe someone listening to this isn't getting the Cuban immediately, but they can put it in their mind and be like, I'm going to be looking for the Cuban in the future.
Absolutely.
So the soba noodle dish,
the soba noodle dish is always good. It's got a bunch of crunchy veggies on top. It's got those carbs that I like and the pasta on the bottom, and then usually either edamame with the plant-based or shrimp, usually with the omnivorous meal, and then like a delicious peanut sambal sauce over the top. You know, it just hits all those different areas of taste. You know, you got your sweet and your spicy and your
all the flavors.
All the flavors.
Yeah. Like there's definitely a theme. We do a lot of Asian inspired flavors. I've been to Vietnam and Japan on a study abroad for Metro, and I just vacationed in Thailand, and then Jamin's honeymooning in Thailand and Vietnam later this year. But Asian food in general has like a huge part in our stomachs,
Absolutely.
I'd say. Yeah. So I think Asian flavors do a great job of balancing that sweet, salty, sour umami. We love doing those ingredients. We have a Thai curry on the cafe menu. That's probably one of my favorites right now. It's Penang style curry, cooked up with a bunch of veggies, and we have like a ginger marinated chicken thigh or a marinated tofu over jasmine rice. It's killer. Yeah, there's back on the delivery meals, like we have a crunch salad, or sometimes call it a detox salad, depending on the ingredients. It's shredded broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, like really hearty brassicas and greens. It's not like a green salad, loaded with ingredients. It's a hefty salad, got a bunch of different ingredients and pickled items and whatnot. That's one of my favorites as well. Yeah, too many to talk about. But the nice thing is the variety, right? Like you're always going to get something different.
Yeah. You guys did a great job hitting different flavor spectrums, different types of sandwiches, pasta, soup, all kinds of different stuff. You guys offer a very wide variety. Now, this is going to seem like a very obvious question, so I'm going to just set this one on the tee and let you guys take a really easy swing at it. A lot of people, I think, when they hear a meal delivery kit, the first thing that comes to their mind is a HelloFresh or a Blue Apron, Home Chef, stuff like that. Clean Slate is not at all like those, but I would love for you guys to just kind of tell me why. Dispel like any questions about how Clean Slate is different than those companies.
I think first and foremost, we're local, right? So we're in the community, and we deliver. You know, every Sunday our deliveries go out to Lincoln, Omaha, Columbus, and Beatrice, and we're taking those deliveries, right? We do it every Sunday. We have a great group of people on our team that help us do it. But that's just like the first and foremost thing is like we're hyper local.
We just had a conversation as the season approaches with one of our farmers that is working with us directly, and we have a few of those on board that we love getting the produce locally when we can. Obviously, it's kind of impossible all year long, but we're working towards that, so it's definitely a good aspect.
Working with local farmers and being part of the community is a huge thing for us. And then just the easier or the more obvious side of things is that it all comes prepared, ready to eat. You don't have to do any preparation, right? We've done all the cooking for you. You either have to heat it up or eat it as is. And that's really what makes it easy is that, you know, we're trying to save the person on the other end that's buying our food time, you know, because time is precious.
Everyone's busy nowadays.
Everyone's busy, you know, as many things that like make it seem like it's easier to get more stuff done. We just have more stuff we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just it being ready to eat and that it's simple.
Yeah, right? It's 3 minutes out of the fridge into the microwave, air fryer, whichever you prefer, and boom, you have a hot meal that is delicious.
Yeah, I'd say this obviously isn't a unique model either, right? There's plenty of fully prepared meal programs out there. There's some local ones as well, not to name any per se or throw any under the bus, but a lot of them are also, if they are focused on prepared meals, they are focused on like macronutrient specific, and then the food just isn't there, right? Like it's just like a boiled piece of chicken breast over brown rice, and like you'd be lucky if you get 3 types of different vegetables on there. So I think we set ourselves apart by being cuisine driven first and foremost, and then healthful second. And the convenience is probably the number one factor for us.
So we've talked a lot about the delivery service. I want to talk a little bit about the cafe and tease that out as well. So again, very new. I believe you guys opened in January of 2023 inside Millwork Commons. Just a real cozy little space, some great lighting from some plate glass windows. And you've got you've got like a refrigerated section where people can come in and just grab and go meals like we've talked about that might be in a weekly delivery kit, or they can order food hot. You've got about 15 menu items on the wall that can be ordered at the counter, a lot of breakfast, sandwiches, lunches, salads, stuff like that. As we've mentioned, you guys have hundreds of recipes at this point over the years of doing this. How did you take all those things, many of which are very near to your heart, and just minimize them down to, here's this tiny little menu that we know we can execute on, here in this moment?
I think it's pretty simple. It kind of went back to what Jamen said. It's, what do we want? What sounds good to us, right? Like
100%.
Yeah, like that's pretty much all it took. Obviously, we had to make sure that it was executable and doable and made sense from a cost perspective and stuff that people would eat. But we'd hope that, most people that are kind of foodies or health conscious at least would agree with our palates. And so far, so good, I would say.
Who comes up with the daily special?
It goes back and forth. It's kind of like we figure out what do we have on hand and how can we make some money out of it. Honestly,
yeah.
This week we are doing like the pork carnitas Benedict, green chili hollandaise. It's just, I thought it sounded good. Honestly,
yeah. It's over a sourdough English muffin. We got a killer bread program going.
Shout out Andrew Novak.
Yeah. He's a talented chef over at Boiler Room and good friend of ours, and helps us out one day a week, helping us with our bread program. So we make sourdough, we make ciabatta from scratch, we make these English muffins. The flour is coming from Miller Dorman Farms, local farmer.
Love
here.
them. Yep.
Yeah, killer stuff. So yeah, got to plug the bread. Come in for the bread. Again, we're health conscious, but there's some guilty pleasures on there for sure.
Another thing with the cafe menu is like, when we're making the meal delivery kits, we have to think about longevity. How is this going to hold up? And like make sure that when the person who buys it, it's going to be good for them for their entire week. This stuff, we're making it hot, fresh, ready to go. It's ready to eat, like,
yeah, we can be a little more creative. We're not limited by that shelf life factor.
Yeah. And that's been a really fun thing, because we both come from restaurant backgrounds, and that's like been our biggest, that's how I learned how to cook, was just in a restaurant. John Benton, someone else you've had on your podcast, he was my first executive chef and taught me what it was like to work in an actual kitchen and not a pizza place. So
you guys have done your homework. You know who I've had on the show. I'm impressed.
Yeah. I've listened.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
entertaining show.
Thank you. Dang. I actually have fans. Who knew?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Yes.
It is nice, just touching on that real quick. Obviously, you have great connections within the community, and the Omaha food scene is so tightly knit, and it's so cool how people kind of bring each other up, right? Like, yeah, yes, restaurants trade chefs and there's some competition, but it's like super healthy competition. So it's a cool little food community for sure. And yeah, thanks for plugging it together and being a part of that.
I am a very, very small part of it. Let's stop talking about me and get back to you guys. So, you guys mentioned you grew up in restaurants. Restaurants were your thing. And then you moved to this meal delivery side of it where, you're still cooking in a kitchen, but it's not a restaurant kitchen, and you're not seeing diners try your food and everything. How fun has it been for you guys to kind of scratch that itch again, where you're back in the kitchen and it's, hey, fire this, or, there's tickets coming up, like probably a little bit of PTSD that comes along with that too. But what's that been for you guys, kind of getting back in that mode as well?
From having like worked on a line in a bunch of different restaurants where you're working till like 11 midnight, sometimes cleaning up the line and just getting your butt kicked from tickets coming in. It was a nice shift from, going to like being able to like, plan out my day, and this is what I need to get done. And then that's when I'm done, no surprises, usually dependent.
Yep.
But honestly, like I love line cooking. Like it's what I'm good at. So being able to like start this back up and running back and yelling at our kid Zach, who's on the line, he does a great job. I'm like, all right, let's go fire this. You got this up, and just yelling at him, and it's just fun. It's kind of under pressure a little bit. It's
oh yeah, it's
your heart.
It's addicting. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's a bit addicting and really fun. Like I think most people within the industry would say that, right? Like because it can be brutal working nights and weekends and holidays and stressful stressful long hours. But people keep coming back to it, right? It's fun. And for us, it's like just a little mini version of that because we just do breakfast and lunch, and breakfast is a bit slow. So come check us out for breakfast. And then lunch, we just get like a real nice pop from all the businesses kind of on their lunch hour. And then it kind of fades down. So it's nothing. We're not like a 200 cover restaurant by any means. We're serving about 30 people a day, but it's super fun to get the taste of that too.
All right, let's get a little bit more into the background. You guys have mentioned briefly how you met. You met at venue, but we have back of house, we have front of house. I feel like and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not normally a ton of crossover between those two worlds in a restaurant. How did you guys meet and become like super good friends?
I mean, Dylan has the interest in food,
right.
So like being able to go out after a long shift and talk to him about food till 2 a.m. I mean, that definitely helped it. And I think one of our first conversations was about starting a food truck.
The grilled cheese food truck.
Yeah, grilled cheese food truck. Yeah, I think that was one of our first. And then the next one was like an Asian fusion one called Saigon Cilantro. So we've always like had this like entrepreneurial spirit about it and wanted to do our own thing. So
it's we learned a lot working under other people, but always had that itch to kind of do something our own way and hopefully do it better. At least we naively thought so. It's a lot of hard work, but we just wanted to get out and do something together. And that'd be really fun because we do kind of both have different skill sets for sure. I spent most of my time in front of house, and Jamen the opposite. So we bring some different perspectives to the business for sure.
What are those different perspectives? How do you guys balance each other? Or complement each other. That would be a better way to put it.
There you go. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Complement and balance.
Yeah. For sure. Totally. Jamen's really good at like delegating and managing the staff back there and like kind of keeps the kitchen staff like on one mission, right? And I think most of the time I'm kind of focused on like a larger picture or like where can we kind of steer this business for the most part. So it definitely takes two for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Like, when I always heard like when you're a business owner, you need to be working on your business, not in your business, right? And so Dylan's definitely like has that overall picture thing going on, and I'm just like in the trenches, like let's get this done. What needs to be done? Is it dishes? Is it doing a delivery route? Is it making sure that all the caterings go out?
Yeah, because we do it all. Yeah, we're scrubbing the floors at the end of the day with the rest of them. So
taking the trash out.
Okay, so we talked about this whole thing came to be because was it UNMC? I apologize.
Yeah.
UNMC was looking for some good meals for their doctors, and they asked you to put some stuff together. As you're doing that for the first time, was there any idea in your head this could be a business, or when did that light bulb kind of go on for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I like Jamen said, kind of that entrepreneurial mindset. I've always like since I was pretty young, always kind of had that like, all right, how can we like turn this into a hustle, right? But probably not in the moment there that idea struck up. I think it was like a slow burn for sure. So yeah, the caterings were kind of my own thing. Like it was some pretty lowbrow, design work, Chef Dylan Thompson catering. Like here's a crumpled up business card. And then the meals, I didn't expect it to just pop off like that. Like I mentioned, there was like 18 people that first week. I remember we're like, all right, we want in. And, we were like taking Venmo and like writing people's information down in Facebook messaging and all that. And like, didn't think it would surmount to much, but we were wrong. It literally never stopped since that first week. Like we've taken some holiday weeks off or whatever have you, but back in 2018, that that first week, it just hasn't stopped. It kind of snowballed ever since. So yeah, we started to get a bit serious about it. Like hopefully no one from the IRS is listening, but we didn't even think about taxes until like 4 months in or something. Like we were just pocketing money, and
Yeah, one of our mentors was like, "Hey, do you guys know what you're doing? Like, what are you doing with your money?" And we're like, "We're just like taking it and we're buying more food, and then we're doing it again."
Yeah, like we knew we were getting away with something we shouldn't be, but so I guess like I mentioned, it was a slow burn. We're like, all right, this is getting real. Like we have some actual cash flow. Like we need to get serious about this. So yeah, I wrote down like 25 different names for the business, and just like, no, that's dumb. And the one that kind of stood out was Clean Slate. Because we believe like you kind of start your week with a fresh slate, and it's all about clean eating, clean food. And so Clean Slate Food Co. Here we are.
I love it. I totally just lost my train of thought. I had a really good follow up to that, and I just lost it. So we're talking back in 2018, and you mentioned that there are a couple other meal delivery services like this now, but I think it was much less so back then. That's 5-6 years ago at this point. Was there any fear in your mind that like people aren't really going to get this, or was it more just like, yes, this is a really good idea, let's run with it?
I think we knew we had value, right? Like we knew that this made sense, and we were, even cheaper back then. Like everything's more expensive nowadays, but like the value was just unmatched. Like you can't go to the grocery store, buy all this food, prepare it, and get this amount of meals for that price. Like it's just impossible. You go to the grocery store, you buy bulk of this or something, you have leftover ingredients, stuff goes in the waste basket. But anyway, we knew we had value there, and we knew we had a good product, put a lot of effort into it. So we knew it was going to stick. It was a matter of getting the name out there. And I think still to this day, I think we're underserved a little bit. I think we can definitely do more, and I think we can get into more Omaha and Lincoln homes for sure. So yeah, we're just trying to get the name out there. And yes, nowadays, like there is more competition. It's definitely more saturated, and food's crazy expensive. So I think it's maybe a bit harder for people to look at the dollar number for 6 meals and be like, oh yeah, no problem. But really, down to brass tacks, like same thing. You go to the grocery store and you can't make these 6 meals for the same price. So we know it's there. We know it works. COVID definitely proved that for us as well. We kind of saw a big old spike in business when COVID first happened. The shutdown occurred. People were at home. People didn't know what was going on, especially like immunocompromised people were like, I don't know what we're going to do with food and groceries. So the home delivery was huge for them, or for most people. And we capitalized that, not to capitalize on a terrible situation, but we were a solution for a lot of people. So, and then you see a ton of different restaurants like, all right, our doors are closed for 2 months. Like we need to pivot. And like a lot of restaurants went to delivery. Some worked out, some didn't, but luckily we're ahead of the curve on that. So we got super lucky in that sense.
So I want to get to that idea of getting the word out about Clean Slate. And I'm always fascinated when a new restaurant opens, how they market themselves, how they let people know about themselves. The thing about restaurants is, even if they don't do a good job marketing, some people will just drive by or happen in and just be like, oh, okay, I'll give this a shot today. Right. That's obviously, I mean, it can happen now with Clean Slate because you guys have the cafe, their businesses, their apartments are on there. But when you started, you're a meal delivery service. If you're not the ones getting your name out there and getting some word of mouth advertising from customers, nobody's finding out about it. How did you get the word out and let people know this is something that's happening, and it's really cool? It's unlike anything in the market right now.
Yeah, well, the first couple months, like I kind of alluded to, we were a bit desperate, and we were Facebook messaging people like, hey, do you want to order meals from us? Like, it's really good.
It was a lot of friends' moms who supported us, and we're like, yeah, we'll buy this week, I guess, to help you out.
Right.
And then from there, I think it was mostly social media. Dylan was in charge of all that. Honestly, word of mouth was the biggest thing. Like people telling other people about it, and it's kind of that's the way it spread. I know you said like total amount of customers. We've like over 1,500, 2,000 people.
Yeah, nowadays closer to like 2,500 that we have served, like the people that have ordered at one point in their lives.
And that's still just such a drop in the bucket compared to like,
what could happen. Yeah.
Between Lincoln and Omaha, the amount of people that, haven't heard about us that would be interested in something like this. So
totally. It's not for everyone, but I think it could benefit a lot of people's weekly life for sure.
I remembered my follow-up question when I had a brain fart about
Nice.
3 minutes ago. So obviously you guys are very experienced in the kitchen, even front of house experience, but there's so much more that comes to running a business. And you were talking about it with the taxes. You didn't even realize, hey, we've got to do something with this.
Yeah, we gotta do something.
And then you start hiring employees. Like, how do you hire and train employees? Do you have to have some kind of an HR department, or who handles the HR responsibilities? Simple. Like, how did you guys give yourself a crash course in the things that weren't like they're related to food, but aren't directly related to food, kind of the more business aspect of it?
It's all been trial by fire.
Oh yeah.
Like at first, it was like mostly friends that were like, hey, I need a part-time job, or, you're gonna, I need some extra hours. And, sometimes when you hire your friends, they expect you to be friendly at work, and you need to be, a person that is in charge of getting things done.
Right.
So we still work. We're lucky enough that like a good portion of our staff are people that we care about and are friends. But we've started to, especially since we moved to Omaha, have been hiring people that we don't know, and we've learned We've learned about some people. I mean, there's some good people that have come out of it, and there's a couple people that have lasted a day,
Yeah, personnel is something we'll always like continue to learn about, and it's always like an ever-changing landscape. It's been really interesting, like doing the whole hiring and HR and all that, which HR is kind of, barely there for us, but we just like, we can rest knowing that we're human, and we're respectful. We hope we're respectful to our employees. We hope they think so. And we just take it day by day and like, understand that everyone's human. Right. And that's just kind of most things business that we've had to learn. It's like, all right, we're just human. There's another human out there with the resources and the knowledge. I definitely think like Jamen has taken entrepreneur classes in college and same here, but you don't learn hardly anything that you'll learn like out there on the streets doing the thing. So, and that's always going to be the case. Like you just have to do it and get in there, and questions will arise, and a ton of things that you don't know will arise, and you just have to find the answer for it. Like, we don't have that skill set, or at least didn't. And we just had to gain those skills as we went.
It's been a lot of, learning things as you go, I suppose.
A lot of hard lessons learned for sure. Like, maybe if we were to do it again, like we'd kind of take a step back and, reassess before we like jump into certain things. But nonetheless, you wouldn't do it if you knew what it took, right? Like a lot of people say that, and like that's probably true for us too. But I'm glad we did. I'm glad we've learned along the way. It's just something you got to do.
What's an example of something that you just had to do that maybe if you could? It's a double-edged coin, because you wish that you hadn't done it because maybe it was a mistake, but you also learned from it and grew from it. Can you think of an example of something along those lines, like what you were just saying?
Yeah. Examples. I'd say the biggest one that was like really heavy on us is this new space, like getting into the new space. We built a plan and did, all the things we were supposed to do, but the funds were the issue. And so we kind of like got into this letter of intent with the beautiful Ashton building and Millwork Commons and went down that route without like having a for sure secured funding to do so. And like, we told ourselves we'll kind of figure it out along the way, and it like quickly caught up to us. And it was like the project came to like a screeching halt, and it definitely was hard for us, the business, all the people like on the other side of the coin, all the professionals that were affecting. So it was super hard on us to, like jump into that and not like be like, oh, we bit off way more than we could chew, and then kind of trying to, play catch up and get to where we need to. And we did it, right? We eventually got the funds, got the construction finished, and got in there. But it was a super hard lesson learned. But again, if we probably would have never done it, right? We'd still be like renting space in Lincoln, a little basement, dingy kitchen, and that's where we'd be. So
which we still have.
We
still have a little dingy kitchen in Lincoln that we run some caterings out of.
For sure.
But yeah, just like Dylan said, yeah, I guess if you don't know you're going to bite off more than you can chew, like, are you going to?
You're just not going to do it.
You got to bite eventually,
right?
And just see, yeah.
You know, and I think you know, from where we are at now comparatively to a year ago, like, I'm pretty proud of where we are.
You should be. So you guys had established yourself as a meal delivery service. Was there always kind of like that bug in the back of your mind that, you know, we'd like to open a restaurant or something with a storefront as well? Or when did the idea of the cafe kind of start to germinate?
Yeah, like I think it was a combination of like you were mentioning, like people seeing us physically and learning about us, like that had to happen because we just weren't getting the word out, well enough just online and word of mouth. So it's really nice to have a physical presence. And the Ashton building in Millwork is so cool, and it's such a community driven thing that we just fell in perfectly with that sort of concept within their space. So that was super important to us. And yeah, the meal prep's fun, and it is what allows us to do cooler things because it's the foundation of our business. But then the cafe is where we can, experiment and do some really interesting things on the hot menu. So it's been super fun, and we have much more, going on in the near future that we can do because of the meal business, the delivery business.
Yeah, touching on like the community of the Ashton building, Comb Flower Creamery opened up right next door to us, and like the symbiotic relationship with them having a line outside their door every day. People are gonna pop their head in and be like, food, nice,
right?
And then across the hallway from us is Cross Train Brewing, and we just wrote a Bar Bites menu for them that we're gonna launch here in the next week or so. So
yeah,
maybe by the time this comes out, it'll be ready. It'll be popping.
Right there. You go.
Wait, banging.
Yes, it'll be banging at that point. Yes, good callback. But yeah, I mean, you've got Archetype Coffee, so people are coming in for coffee. They're passing your cafe. Sweet Magnolia's Bake Shop's right back there. You've got businesses above you. You've got apartments right across the street. I love that area so much, and not even mentioning Dolomiti Pizza, which is going to be open hopefully later this summer. Cannot wait for that. But I mean, that is an area that is just growing exponentially. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like there were some frustrations getting things off the ground, but the opportunity to just get more eyeballs and get more awareness and have people go, wait, what is Clean Slate?
Yeah, exactly.
And stop in. Like, I'm sure you can put a dollar amount on that, but in some ways, like, you can't. Like, just that marketing is just
invaluable. Yeah.
I think
took the word out of my mouth. That was perfect, Dylan.
I think also a big question we always got to is, where are you located?
Right.
Having like to explain to the general public that at the time before we opened this, that we're in a catering kitchen. We don't have a storefront. You can't come get anything from us. That's just been a huge. Now we're able to be like 1233 Millwork Avenue. Come check us out, dude.
Right. Yeah, like Coneflower, they just opened up their second location right next door to us, and they have a well-established name for themselves. And they've been open a bit longer than us, 6 years, but we're still a baby in the sense of the community in that eyes of like having, a foothold within a space, right? Like we just started. And so I think it's really going to help getting our name out there when we have this physical location.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, Clean Slate has come a long ways in just 5 or 6 years since 2018. And this past year, opening the cafe was a big step for you guys. But when you look to the future, what do you see in the future of Clean Slate?
That's a really good question, because most days we're just wrapped up in the day to day. Like, how are we going to knock this out and get through this week? But we've got a 20-person private dining room attached to the restaurant that we're really excited to be able to like host wine dinners and beer dinners, and like kind of get back to that like fine dining side of things that Dylan's super talented at, both on like the wine side and in the culinary side, and then just keep growing like where we reach people, I suppose. The corporate caterings, like, so we do Huddle in Lincoln Monday through Friday, and then we have 4 other corporate caterings in Omaha that we're doing. And so, just being able to like grow a team that can, accomplish all these goals, because we want to feed people. That's our goal. We want to feed as many people as we can.
Have fun doing it, and again, feed people with what we want to eat. Right. And so, many different avenues to do that. And we're grinding away at all of those avenues.
All
so
right.
Keep growing.
Well, you guys are doing great. I've got 2 more questions that I like to ask just about everybody I have on this podcast. And since you guys actually listen to the show, thank you again. You might have been able to prepare for these a little bit.
No preparation done.
First one is, what is one thing about restaurants, the restaurant industry, just maybe the food industry in general, that diners don't understand that you wish they did understand?
That's a really good question. The amount of hours and the hours that we work, while most people are hanging out with their families and their friends, we're working.
Yeah, we're putting our passion into it. And appreciation goes a very long way. Right. Like if people are, I would say the vast majority of people are really good about it, but like appreciation when someone like pops in, it's like, oh, thank you, chefs. Like that was a great meal. Like that goes so far with us, right? Like, you don't need to do that, but when people are appreciative of the food we serve them, like our mission is accomplished, right? Like we accomplish what we set out to do, and that's just make people happy with food.
It's been nice to have that immediate gratification from people being like, that was great. Thanks for cooking that for me. We'll be back. And we've got a lot of regulars so far. We got, I'm getting better at like remembering faces and names when they come in, like, hey, good to see you again, and I feel like that's just growing every single day, that we have people that are just keep coming back. And, if we can keep them coming back, they're going to tell their friends, they're going to keep coming back. So.
Well, yeah, I imagine that's a huge boon to be able to get that on the spot feedback, because most people, even if they love a meal that they ordered, probably aren't going to like go on social media, email, whatever it might be, and tell you guys, hey, this salmon, I absolutely loved it. You did a great job on it. They'll probably just eat it, and then maybe they'll order again, but you don't get that feedback to be able to actually hear, yes, we're like making people happy. I mean, you suppose that, but to get that confirmation, that has to be something that just gives you a little bit of pep. Yeah,
most people go online. Well, I shouldn't say most, but unfortunately, a large chunk of like review culture is negative, right? Like there's so many people out there will only post a review if it's negative, right? They had a terrible experience. They have to tell people about this so they don't experience the same thing, get their 2 cents out there and be heard. But like all feedback is good, right? Like neutral feedback, like, hey, this was great, but this could have improvement. Amazing feedback is great, and negative feedback. Like, so I guess telling the layperson that's not in the industry, like more feedback is what helps us grow for sure. Whether some chefs want to hear that or not, I think all feedback is good.
Wonderful. And then to get you guys out of here on a positive note, what's your favorite thing about being a part of the food restaurant industry?
The people. Yeah. Some of my best friends.
Yeah, I think the people that we work with side by side for sure. Like we're in the trenches with and making it happen with. And then the customers too, especially the positive customers. Yeah. The customers that like make it worthwhile too. Right. Like, people that are super grateful for what we do. It's what makes it worth it for sure.
Yeah. Being able to bounce ideas off of other professionals that are also your friends and just that want to see you grow.
Love it. All right. This is a spot in the podcast where I give my plug for the place, and these guys make amazing food. Like whether you want to order from the weekly delivery kit, whether you just want to stop into Millwork Commons and grab something, say, hey, I don't have time right now, but I need something for work, for lunch or whatever. These meals reheat really well. They're delicious. But I would encourage you to stop into the cafe and get one of these meals hot. They are really, really good. They fit into your diet, but they're also they're delicious. Like the ways that these guys bring flavors out is really, really special. And guys, I appreciate all the hard work that you've gone through to get Clean Slate to this point, to get the cafe up and running. And I appreciate you taking the time today. I mean, you guys were open this morning. You did breakfast, you did lunch, and then you came here and you did this dopey podcast. So thank you so much for taking your time out this afternoon and
It was fun.
and coming and chatting with me.
Yes. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.